Chris Paul has been in discussions with the Suns about his future with the franchise, and according to Woj, those discussions include the possibility that he could be waived by the end of the month. All right, Wendy, what are you hearing about Chris Paul's future?
Yeah, so one of the things that the Suns talked to Chris Paul about when they met with him is they could have 4 players make over $30 million this year, and the new CBA just makes it very difficult for that to happen. And so it's possible that they could make another move where they could save some salaries, especially if they're able to trade DeAndre Ayton. So while the final decision hasn't been made, I think it's likely that by the end of the month, June 28th, we'll see Chris Paul waived. And I think his future is in one of 2 places. One is Los Angeles, be it the Lakers or the Clippers. Both teams potentially in need of a point guard. Their point guards on both teams are free agents, Russell Westbrook and obviously D'Angelo Russell. And it's not out of the realm of possibility. I think it's worth pointing out that the Suns could bring him back. It would almost act kind of like an NFL-style restructuring where his contract is paid out in a partial guarantee and they bring him back for a lesser salary. But that's what I would bet on. I would bet on either LA or Phoenix for Chris Paul, once we get into July.
So if you're talking about L.A., you're reuniting the Banana Boat Boys. So would he be the missing piece for LeBron and the Lakers?
Oh, no. Wait a minute. You're going to bring in a 38-year-old who gets hurt, with Anthony Davis, who plays like he's 38 years old and gets hurt, with LeBron James, who's 40 years old. No, you can't do that. It makes sense for Chris Paul because that's home for him. He'd like that. But if you're the Lakers, no, that's not the move you make here. Because you'd be waiting to see which guy gets hurt first in the playoffs, Anthony Davis or Chris Paul. That's a dangerous place to go for the Lakers.
I mean, look, you can utilize him from a minutes restriction throughout the course of the season in an effort to.
So not a main piece.
Look, if he can be an additive piece that you can have for cheap with that roster and it allows you to keep your current roster constructed, potentially it's a fit.
But they're talking about big 3. Add him. Is this a big 3 to win the championship?
I don't think right now, and CJ, you tell me if I'm wrong here. I don't look at CP3 like that. I look at him as a guy that can orchestrate moments of time where you need him to. I'm not going to look at him as a usage rate that's going to be 95%. I think you're trying to get to the postseason where you felt like they missed that extra ball handler, that other playmaker to help make the game easier.
Talk about a guy who's going to make solid decisions. He's got an elite mid-range jump shot. He averaged 14 and 9 last year. He's great at managing games and putting people in the right positions to succeed. Does he have to play all 82 games? No. The Lakers don't need him to play 82 games. The Suns don't even need him to play 82 games.
They need him to help win 16 games,
They need him to be healthy during the playoffs, and I think for him and for where he's going at in his career, he wants to win a championship. He wants to compete at a high level, and those 2 teams give him the opportunity to do that. And I think for the Lakers, obviously they have some situations they need to figure out with Reeves and Russell and Schroeder and all those other players, Rui. But that's a really good team that everybody could use a Chris Paul in their team.
You guys are nicely describing a backup point guard.
So Wendy, give you the final word. Is Chris Paul worth it at this point?
I absolutely think he's worth it.
If he's on a minimum contract, he'd be one of the best values in the league. And just point something out. In the playoffs, Devin Booker was the primary point guard for the Suns. And that's one of the reasons why the Suns really can't pay him $30 million going forward.
All I want to say, BC, is all these options are great. Imagine if he were on the Boston Celtics.
Wow.
You talk about a team. I'm not saying he would want that, but a team that is searching for an identity of somebody to lead them in those moments. I do feel like he would be the missing link for the Celtics.
You got to manage those minutes because you need him in the postseason. Speaking of Chris Paul, did you hear what he said about the title? Those Nuggets, let's pick this game up in the third quarter because the Nuggets were up 9, and it's Jamal shooting, missing. Look, I'll just clean up my own stuff here. Lays it right back up and in. Nuggets are up 11 at this point. Still in the third. They're up 10. The Joker for 3. Through 3 quarters, Joker at 26, 18, and 9. Murray 22, 5, and 8. To the fourth, hands it off to Murray. Murray knocks it down. 10 assists for Jokic. First player with 10 triple-doubles in a single playoff, and he wasn't done. Watch this one over Bam Adebayo. The shooter's touch. Jokic 32, 21, and 10. Murray 34, 10, and 10. The Nuggets win game 3. So Jokic recorded the first 30-point, 20-rebound, 10-assist game in NBA Finals history. It was his 3rd career game with 30 points, 20 rebounds, and 10 assists in the playoffs. And the rest of the NBA history has combined for 2 such games including Kareem and Wilt. That's what this guy is doing here. So Jay Will is here with us now. What did you take away from the Nuggets' big win last night?
That Jimmy Butler failed the Miami Heat. And I understand it's a team sport, but all that stuff about Jokic is incredible, and we could talk about that later. But we talked about in order to beat the Denver Nuggets, you have to cut the head off the snake.
Yeah.
That is Jamal Murray. Jokic had 41 in game 2. Jamal Murray was held to 18 points, like on 17 shots. Miami won the game. So when Jamal Murray is scoring 20 points in the first half and he's finding his rhythm, then that allows him to be a double-headed monster. And that's when they're at their best. So when I hear Jimmy Butler talk in the postgame about I need to do better, I need to bring better energy, yeah, because it starts off in the first quarter, them involving him in a lot of pick and roll action, and Jimmy Butler needs to have that sense of urgency and really set that tone defensively on taking the head off the snake, and that comes with stopping Jamal Murray.
It seems like then, CJ, he's saying something that what Wendy said earlier when I asked him which triple-double was more important. He said Jamal Murray.
Yeah, because you expect Joker to go get 30. They talked about it. Kyle Lowry read the stat sheet, said 30, 20, 10. He wasn't reading it as if he was surprised. He was reading it as if he expected Joker to do that, and he's on the opposite team. So if you know he's going to get 30 or 40, you have to be able to stop their 1B or their number 2 guy, which is Jamal Murray. And we don't mean stop him. We mean contain him. Make it very difficult for him to touch the ball. Don't allow him to walk in and catch and shoot threes. Understand that you have to go over all DHOs. You can't go under because he can shoot. And once he gets comfortable, their team's offense is better and it's more dynamic. The Denver Nuggets made 5 threes as a team and still dominated the game. You can't do that.
Wow.
And by the way, I know you
dribble handoffs for the people listening at home.
And now I know we're not asking Jimmy Butler, CJ, to score 35 points every night, but you start looking at these 3 NBA finals and you're saying that's 62 points on 57 shots, man. Like that's a real grind for him right now and what he's going through. He's carrying the load, but he needs to do it on the defensive end more importantly.
Well, you're asking him to be everything for this team,
yes.
right? But
yes.
He was the defensive stopper in game 2, or at least was getting credit for that. And they have 2 days to prepare for it. To me, those extra days off in between these games, like it does set you up for all the narratives of Jimmy Butler, he's the stopper, that's what they did. And okay, well now we're gonna make you have to run through screens. We're gonna set you up. We take our 2 best players and we're gonna have them play together and everybody else gonna watch. No one else really touched the ball. This was all just Murray, Jokic, and everybody else was watching. I was getting a text from a former NBA coach who texted me during the game. And he said, everybody else is standing and watching because these 2 guys are doing all the work. They don't have to do anything other than just be support, space, everything else. But they could not stop this 2-man game. And that was basically what Miami had to do. They went into zone, couldn't do it. They gutted this defense, 60 points in the paint. And these 2 guys combined for 30 of those 60 points in the paint. So it wasn't just Jimmy Butler. I think it was a collective of the Heat just not having any ability to stop 2 incredible players who had an incredible night.
So are the Nuggets now in the driver's seat to close this thing out?
I mean, yeah. I mean, obviously it goes back to home court advantage in their favor, right? So when it's all said and done, look, Miami's one heck of a basketball team, and still, I just go back to this. In game 2, they had to shoot the lights out to be in a position to win the game, which they were able to do. Last night, I saw a Denver team who had a better sense of urgency defensively. In game 2, they had 17 made threes, 9 were wide open. They were butt naked for those threes. You didn't see any of those type of looks last night. So that size, that power, that frame, this is why people have been saying that they think Denver is more talented than Miami. Talented team doesn't always win, but look at what the numbers tell you right here.
Well, that's been all playoffs for the Heat. When they make their threes, you hate to say make or miss, but when they make